Welcome everyone, and hello Jeff.
Hey Jafar, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. Looking forward to today.
Yes, I can't believe actually I was thinking today it's already our 6th podcast.
Yep. Every 2 weeks, as often as possible, we do it, which is I'm finding it quite a good chance to hear the types of questions about the different subjects, because this is a big subject, and even though we have a small following at the moment, I think getting the general education out there builds osmosis, which I'm a big believer in.
Yeah, that's right. It's always good to have community members chiming in, and just the community communicating within themselves as well. So we'll start with the most important piece of business for today. A lot of people are very excited. It is February, and they're wondering what are our latest updates. Do we have any, schedule or specific dates that we're going to release the launch?
I don't have the specific date today, but I know that the final copy is going into the website. So I think next week you'll be sharing some of the screenshots and some information about the process as well. So Jafar, and you'll be working with Kieran, I believe, to get the copy all sorted.
Perfect. And what is kind of the notice that would be given the community before the launch actually happens?
So from what I've talked to with the directors, at the moment it looks like close to the end of the month is when the free space will be available to launch this. So that's kind of, like we're going to spend the rest of the month getting people ready and talking about the process for making sure they're on board, and that Catalyst is claimed with their Otto, that they've bound their wallets, and that we can do the correct airdrop to them. So all those things are going to take sort of a few steps for everyone, and then hopefully once they're on Otto, everything starts to become a much easier user experience.
Yep. So for everyone listening and for other people who will tune in later, that's we're hoping to launch or give notice about the launch around the end of the month. And from now till the end of the month, we're going to be giving more information. We're going to be sharing the website and the process and just getting everyone ready, so everyone can participate and have the same information. So yep, thank you for that. Is there any other updates regarding the process, Jeff?
Nope. Not really. We've made it as simple and easy as possible. The people who were part of the pre-mining event will be the first people to have Otto, and should be able to start securing the chain as soon as the go live happens. Our other partnerships are all ready to go, and we've been working with new partners to talk through how we can build on the utility that we have.
Is there a bit of alpha you can share about our partners there, or is that waiting till we actually launch?
Actually, let's see action. We've been talking about the plans that we have for a long time, and it takes a long time and a lot of thought and a lot of expertise, a lot of research and development to build something like this. And our partners want to see it start working. And once they see it start working, I think that's when people will really lift it up and really see it go. And I think, our biggest weakness right now is that they love the idea, but they can't get involved in it and do it. And so once people can once the real technology has been delivered to them, then they can suddenly start becoming involved. And when they realize that it works, and it will take off.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, thank you for the update. I guess we can just move on to our topic of the day, multi-chain assets. And I believe multi-chain assets play a very big role in the Otto blockchain. But do you want to firstly just give us a brief overview of what they are for the Web3 noob?
So one thing in the blockchain space is that there are a number of coins out there on different blockchains that hold value. However, due to the technology on certain blockchains and the prominence of smart contracts or prominence of DeFi or the availability for liquidity, some of those coins are lacking an investment portfolio structure for DeFi or for any kind of genuine on-chain financial opportunities or investor opportunities. So one thing that plagues that is that I can't buy a Bitcoin with Ethereum on-chain. I can buy a wrapped or one of multiple wrapped versions of that and hope that there's no smart contract exposure or the person holding the key on the Bitcoin end doesn't make a mistake. But that smart contract risk is quite a concern because on public blockchains. So the reason why we promote bringing all of those assets into Otto is that there is no smart contract risk. Each token remains in a custodial wallet, professionally managed, secured on its own blockchain without a bridge. And through that process, you actually receive a freestanding Bitcoin or ADA or XRP or USDC or Ethereum on the Otto blockchain, which is equal technologically. It's using the generic asset module that we developed. So it's technically equal to any other coin on the chain. So it can participate in smart contracts exactly the same way as any other coin. It can be used in transactions or in DeFi protocols or in liquidity situations or in leverage situations exactly the same way as any other coin. So it's kind of an even playing field for all of those tokens. And then it creates a fair opportunity for indexes of coins and of financial objects on the Otto blockchain for investors. And investors love indexes. So, it's a really, really valuable thing to provide. And we've built some protocols around indexes that will allow protocols to build stronger and stronger indexes and people to trade indexes as if it's just a standard token.
When you're mentioning indexes, are you kind of talking about the traditional finance, like S&P 500, the DAX 30, or is this some kind of new, crypto Web3 index that we're creating, like a basket of?
So the definition of
standards.
Index is multiple assets curated and held in a pool, and then a derivative of that pool being issued. So,
cool.
Yeah. So basically, you can have a derivative of multi-chain assets, and that's why it's important that every asset is on the Otto blockchain. We think that because your Bitcoin is technically capable of all the same things as your ADA and your Ethereum on the chain, there is no unequal situation for them, and therefore the value that they have is directly derived by their own native blockchains, not by your activity on Otto.
If we just also go back to the custodian part, I just want to check if I got this correctly. Is it kind of the same as saying that if I am on Otto Blockchain, my assets are stored in a custody who have their own system of keeping it safe? Does that mean that when I'm transacting on the Otto DEX, I'm kind of being issued credit to work with, since the asset is not actually in my wallet?
No. You're being issued a multi-chain asset. So what's happened is that if you've deposited a Bitcoin into the custodial wallet, you've been issued a Bitcoin on the Otto blockchain. You can use that Bitcoin on the Otto blockchain to withdraw a Bitcoin from the custodial wallet out to your Bitcoin wallet if you want to. As long as you've got that Bitcoin, you can exchange it one for one. So it's not a credit and it's not an amount. It is a token for a token. So one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, 1 ADA is 1 ADA. And you can only redeem that for an ADA. You can swap it for something else on chain and then redeem that to be withdrawn. The value with it being a multi-chain asset is that you have a direct on-chain validation of the asset going in from its native blockchain and being held in the custodian to exactly what has been issued to you. So the balance and can be reconciled every single block, so that that there's never ever more than one Ethereum on Otto if there's not the Ethereum and the custodian.
And with the custodian part, so is it that there's a custodian kind of wallet assigned to every user, or is it one custodian wallet that holds the assets?
Welcome back to the
different users.
So every user has a proxy wallet with the custodian for every token. So for each blockchain, and then but the total volume so once you convert say you put your Bitcoin in through your proxy wallet, once they issue you a Bitcoin on Otto, that Bitcoin becomes redeemable from the custodian. So if you want to withdraw, you put the Otto Bitcoin back in your Otto account, because you can have multiple wallets on chain, so you can transfer it from any wallet on chain to your Otto account and then redeem it for 1 Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain to your Bitcoin address.
Yeah, once you kind of dive deeper into it, it sounds like a pretty complex system on the back end, but on the front end, the user doesn't have to really deal with that, right?
No,
they just transact and then they can.
The underlying assets are protected and professionally managed, and also fully verifiable. So you have no black hole. You have no situation where there is not one asset in custody for every asset on the chain. And anyone who withdraws from the chain is guaranteed to be KYC AML verified.
And then just like moving on, I guess, for the average Web3 user, when you hear about multi-chain assets, sometimes you also associate it with weaknesses or vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Do you want to kind of expand in that area as well?
For example, there are multiple ways to have a wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum blockchain. And to unwrap that to your Bitcoin address, you have to go through that Ethereum contract. But on the Bitcoin side, also has a system for managing that that pool or wallet. And all of those are trusting on an open blockchain, trusting a smart contract to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's been created by someone and runs, and anyone can create one. Tomorrow you could go out and create a wrapped Bitcoin. But often the value of that wrapped Bitcoin is lower than the value of a genuine Bitcoin on Bitcoin blockchain. But the reason why people want it is because there's very little utility for Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, other than as a means of transfer or a means for holding value for a certain amount of time, or for exchange trading, so off-chain utility. Much is the same with a lot of other blockchain coins, that they really have no utility, and therefore they quite often want to be used on a chain that does have utility, and that's why they wrap them. What we're doing with Otto is avoiding that smart contract risk. There's one way to get an ADA onto Otto. It's not through a smart contract, it's through a registered verifiable source that's verifiable by law, and also verifiable by on the blockchain, and there's never any state where it's not. Then from there, you've got the benefit of, once you've got that ADA on the chain, it's a native ADA on the chain. There's not multiple different types of ADA. So there's no disincentive for someone to accept it or not accept it with concerns, because they know it's fully backed by the real ADA on the ADA blockchain for all the utility that ADA has on its own chain. I'm using ADA as an example here because it's quite a good one, because ADA is one of those blockchains that has a lot of value in it, but the utility is still growing. So the community is looking for more opportunities to use it. Bitcoin's another good example because it has very little utility.
So I guess what I understood from that is that we kind of avoid the whole smart contract vulnerability because we're working with a regulated entity that is registered, and that can be, like, if something happens, they can be approached and worked with. Yeah, Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's verifiable that they don't have access to your assets. So that's one thing. The next thing is that it's verifiable of where they are and what jurisdiction they're under. And the third, and I say the most important thing, is that you can see transparently on chain one for one. There's no situation where it's not one for one. So you can verify that it's true, but through your own research. So there's no black hole, as we've discussed in the past, where you deposit something into an exchange and they give you a credit for whatever you deposit. You can't verify that they're holding the asset that you gave them.
Yeah, so it sounds quite secure from an internal perspective.
There's a lot less risk on that. And there's a lot more utility when all the good coins, all the really valuable coins, can operate together on the same level, on the same technological level, in the same technological place. So that no one needs you to go and convert your XRP token into Bitcoin to do a transaction, because they just can take this much XRP instead of that much Bitcoin, because they're both technically the same and operating in the same blockchain in the same environment.
But what about the, external vectors of attack? In the Web3 space, there are a lot of smart people like yourself. What are the chances that, and what would be the result if, people with malicious intentions try to exploit that particular custodial wallet? Is there any risk for that happening as well?
There is always risk, but the custodial solution that we're using is not just unique to us. And I would say, and I'm big for self-custody, and some situations are good for self-custody, some are not. When you're professionally managing money in an investment portfolio, you want professionals to be looking after your security. And so the custodian is that professional, that's proven, that's trusted by all the major banks, all the major fund traders, all of the major crypto exchanges. They're trusting that custodian already. And that custodian already has those processes and technology built and verified and audited and monitored around security. So it's harder to break into their technology than it is to break into your home and take it off your computer.
But as you said, even though the risk is very small, there may still be a risk. And in the event of an exploit, what would the steps be for a user to recoup their funds? Are they able to recoup their funds?
No, it depends. So from a Otto perspective, if you've got a wallet on Otto that you moved it out of your Otto main account into a private wallet for your own self-custody on Otto, and somehow you lost that wallet, or somehow, so there are ways to go through a process for us to burn the tokens in that wallet and reissue them to your Otto account. But that's only if we can verify that that's you. So there's our process.
And that would be done through a governance decision, is it?
Yep. It goes through an application process. And it's all done publicly and it's all done transparently so everyone can see what happened. Because on Otto Blockchain, it's not an open chain, it's a permission chain. So anyone can create a wallet on Otto Blockchain and transfer assets freely between themselves without anyone ever being able to intervene. So we can't censor that, but we do censor and do add permissions to launching a contract on Otto Blockchain. And that's super, super important because on many open blockchains, say Ethereum, for example, anyone can create a malicious contract anonymously and then present it to you as an official, genuine, legit contract. And it could have very smart technology in there that can end up making you lose everything. Now, on Otto Blockchain, because everyone who produces a contract and launches one goes through an auditing process and a vetting process and an application process. So we know who launched the contract. The people on Otto Blockchain, the owners of Otto, have voted to allow that contract to be on chain. It's been verified and vetted by an independent technical review, so to be audited, the contract, and then it's launched. If that contract, let's just say a lot of people got involved and put a lot of assets into that contract, if that contract suddenly froze or locked up by something that we hadn't imagined or seen or that the auditors missed, it's very, very easy for the process of Otto Blockchain to reissue those assets back to its holders. And the underlying, and the reason why that's easy is because the underlying asset that backs the value of your Otto chain asset is verifiably held in custody. So the real asset is never lost. And it's kind of like printing you a new ticket when you lost your original.
Right, so I'm gonna throw a curveball, crazy situation.
Go for it.
So the custodian, they have hot wallet or cold wallet, it's either one, but they hold like 1 Bitcoin, and on their side, they've managed to somehow lose that 1 Bitcoin through an exploit or like a mistake on their part. So in that kind of situation, would the custodian then be obliged to reimburse that user for their lost assets? Or how does that?
So the asset with the custodian is not owned by a user. But let's just say that at one point there's verifiably someone has taken Bitcoin out of the custodial pool, and there's one less Bitcoin in custody than what we're showing on the Otto blockchain. Currently, we don't have a solution for that. That's an issue. It's something that, in my experience, hasn't happened. But you've seen some. I've seen some ideas around it, and one of the best ideas that I've seen is what Binance do, which is the SAFU, which is funds are safe. What they do is they take a percentage of the trading fees that are earned by the exchange and place them into an insurance policy just in case Binance gets exploited, because they have a much wider opening for exploitation because
they're so big.
Not because they're big, because it's a lot easier to put assets onto Binance and take assets off Binance than what we've designed. We've designed a much more secure process for adding assets and taking assets away. And on Binance, if someone stole money from Binance, no one would usually ever know. It'd be very hard for anyone to verify that someone had somehow stolen money from Binance, because there's no correlation between how many assets are held on Binance's exchange and how many assets they actually hold in their wallets. And there is no way that we can correlate that. So that for Otto, you would know absolutely 100% the moment that there was a mismatch. So the moment a Bitcoin went missing, you would know that it had gone missing. Once that Bitcoin goes missing, we would have to start an investigation with the custodian to find out where it went. If it came back that the custodian had been exploited, that would put the custodian's reputation, who are the custodians for major funds, major banks, major trading houses, and major exchanges. It would put their whole reputation at risk. So they would probably look to find a solution for that, because it's not by our mistake that could happen. But at that point, if they did find it and they said, actually, this is a technical failure with our product, but we're not liable to pay you, we don't have an answer for that, and we would have to figure out what to do as a community for that mismatch. I think maybe early on to face, like if we wanted the chain to have some sort of security like the SAFU, the safe fund that Binance had, then we could just allocate a certain percentage of the of the DEX trading fees to a fund that grows over time and adds more reassurance that if something went wrong, it would be safe. And we could come up with maybe a novel way of diversifying the risk on that index.
Yeah. And for everyone listening, this is your opportunity for the community. If you have any ideas, throw them on Discord. In the end, I imagine it will be a community initiative, either through governance or some sort.
Yeah, it'll go through like a proposal, and then it would be voted on, and then the funds would be allocated to the people that were approved to technically build it. And then once it's built, it would be audited and processed and launched. And then any redundancy built into that would be start to be implemented.
Cool. So that's our allocated time for the discussion. Thanks a lot for that lecture on multi-chain assets, Jeff.
Yep. The key is that they're all equal on the chain. Yeah. There's not, and so they all can participate in everything without being a second class coin.
Awesome. If anyone listening has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'm just going to read off the first question of Discord while we get questions in.
Cool.
So there's a user on Discord that understands that we've been delayed since last year on a launch, and they wanted to know what steps are necessary to get Otto launched, or what has been the biggest challenge for us last year in getting that launch out.
Yeah. So there's two really technical things that we've been working through. One of them was the catalyst and the modeling and testing of catalyst, because it's a really important part of a self-sustaining economy. Getting that thesis proven and tested and then built technically into the consensus system so that it does actually secure the chain has been an amazing achievement, but also like a huge technical undertaking. But once that was done, and we announced that we're going to allow Plug to participate, we came up with a fair launch policy for Plug participating, and we've kind of extended the launch date to make sure that fair launch policy could be implemented. So the technology and the user interface and the testing behind that to make sure that can be done. And that's what's almost ready now to launch, and that's why we're confident that launch is coming. The second thing that is very difficult is around the security and interactions and protocols between the custodian, the independent management of the custodians, the governance of the chain, and the contracts and technologies and code that interacts with that. So that's quite a big piece of work, and a lot more complicated than building a centralized exchange, because a centralized exchange doesn't expose that stuff on chain to you. But we are building it so that it's exposed on chain and it's reconciled and verified, and you can apply any kind of oracle to it yourself to verify it as well. So that's big job, and doing that is hard work, and it's not just code work, it's people work, it's lawyer work, it's accounting work, it's jurisdictional work, etc. So.
And of course, we discussed earlier, those are the challenges we had last year, and we've been able to push past that. And the only thing that we're kind of working on right now is the website. Is that correct?
Yep. Well, we're working on lots of things. we were working on quite a few protocols and things like that, and ideas. We're still working on the integration between the independent manager of the custodian and the custodial, wallet, and delivering that, and making sure that like all the processes are signed off and audited by specialist risk managers and stuff like that. So that's still in process, and that's why that asset onboarding process will happen after the chain is decentralized and secured through the minting of the Catalyst tokens.
We have another question from a user, and I've already answered this in the past, but maybe you want to answer this as well, Jeff. So these are us. We were confident that the launch was coming in the last AMA. If it would give the community confidence if a date was committed to,
yes.
Since the goalpost has been changed this and last year.
Yeah, I know. We can't change reality. We're building new technology here. It's far more important to get it right than to launch it on time. That's just a fact. Our team are exceptionally experienced, exceptionally dedicated to doing what they're doing, and building new technology and making it work and being confident about it working is not something we can guarantee. It's something that we're striving for. And once it's ready, we will launch. And we're pushing. And sometimes it means that there is a delay, but that's just a matter of fact.
If anyone has any other questions, feel free to raise your hand on Twitter Spaces. In the meantime, you did mention, Jeff, just a random question about ADA, that you really liked it, and ADA will be a token that people can deposit on Otto. What do you think of ADA? Why is it so? What kind of value does it bring?
They have a never-ending dedication to technical improvement as well. So I think that any use case that gets launched and works and operates on ADA is going to be phenomenally successful because of the security, the ease of use, the quality of the contracts and things like that. I think there's a bright future for ADA.
And is that because of their coding base?
Yes.
I heard that they use a special code that's kind of unique in the space.
Yes, and they've developed that with lots of delays and lots of work and lots of research and development and lots of rework and lots of updates over years as well, with a huge amount of resource to do that. I really think that it's that kind of development and technology that's going to deliver the efficiency that blockchain needs. We're doing the same thing. I mean, we created a smart contract protocol, which we've patented as well, called Pact, and it's amazing technology that allows the writing of smart contracts. So check that out as well. So.
We have another question on Discord. So I didn't catch this part, but if you mentioned a fair launch policy, can you please elaborate on it?
So we're allowing plug tokens to be utilized in the early decentralization of the Otto blockchain. And because we didn't want a rush to mint the Catalyst tokens, disadvantaging the people who were late, we've created a 28-day process where you can submit your plug tokens, and at the end of that 28 days, everyone who participates in that first fair launch process, they will all share the average price for Catalyst at that time. And this will accelerate the community growth and the decentralization and security of the chain. So yeah, everyone shares the same average is the answer for that 28-day period. After that period, you can still bring your plug tokens in and burn them for Catalyst tokens, but you will get the price at the time.
And just kind of going back to the earlier questions, we were talking about launch and it getting delayed. I'm thinking that maybe what the community would benefit from is more kind of regular updates, perhaps on the technical side and technical progress of things. Because I remember that we had this conversation earlier, Jeff, that we actually didn't want to put a lot of small updates out there because we weren't kind of that team.
We want to educate about what we're
Yeah.
doing and talk clearly about the different features, because we want to grow, and we want to grow through use. But and I think that working with the community now, talking about some of the things that we started talking about this stuff, and we started circulating white papers on this stuff, the cross-chain functionality, the permissioned blockchain and use cases, the need for transparency that centralized exchanges haven't been able to provide. The risk around that transparency not being there, causing huge amounts of leverage and re-leverage and then leverage of debt on top of that. So these things have become very, very real last year when you saw the collapse of Luna and you saw the collapse of FTX, and then subsequently from that the collapse of Sol, because they were using, technically may have been using funds that weren't their own to support certain other funds. So there was a whole lot of things that just shouldn't be possible on blockchain, but they are possible because of the black holes that people allow to accept. Now that I'm talking about those things, they seem more real to people because that people have seen what happens when they do it. And I'm not the boy who cried wolf anymore. There really is a wolf, and there always was a wolf. He was just hiding. So I think that's the focus for us, is to build the tech, let people use it, let it prove itself. And that's what's going to really, really cause adoption. It's going to cause other people to start creating similar things as well.
Yep. And of course, while we're working on this to make it safe and taking it slow, if the community feels like they want more comms, if they want, smaller updates, just let us know. If the significant opinions coming out, then we'll do it.
Yep. Maybe get the team to give you some screenshots to talk through and to explain through over the next 2 weeks, so that next time when we're here, we're probably closer to giving a date. People will have actual direct questions around the process, how it works, so that they can get themselves mentally prepared to be part of it.
Yeah, sounds good. We're nearing the end of our allocated time. Jeff, do you have any final points you'd like to share with us before we say goodbye?
No, thank you very much for attending. I'm looking forward to signing off on the copy very soon and having it out there to you, so you can start reviewing and getting ready. Yeah, that's it. I think that the upgrade to Jumio is underway as well, so we should be able to start onboarding a large quantity of new users as soon as possible.
Cool, sounds good. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos. Bunnies up!